Hey, welcome back to the next video in our Spidey Venom series. So in this last video we detailed out our Venom, so we're going to block out our Spider-Man character from here. So first thing I wanted to share with you was my concept. And so we're going to just try to achieve these proportions. He's going to be very slender, but he's going to have some tone, a little bit of muscle to him, and I found a fun Pinterest concept as reference. So I love these proportions, I love the suit, love everything about it. Big eyes and the really skinny ankles, and this awesome Deadpool Carnage mashup is so rad. But this is the Spidey kind of look that I'm going to go for. We're also going to do actual modeled web, which is going to be a little bit tricky and take some time. I might have to do some time-lapse stuff there. But let's dive right into it. Okay, so this is our Venom. Let's say we wanted to go back to our Nick Z Human Male as our base. So we'll come over here to the Lightbox tools and double click on the Nick Z Human Male. And that's going to load up this goofy guy. So with that subtool, with the body as the active subtool, I'm going to come up here to make Polymesh 3D, and it's going to swing that over into another subtool and clean everything out, all the layers and all that stuff that we don't need. So come back here and do a delete all. Just get that guy out of here and then switch back over to our Geo. So we're going to turn this guy into our Spider-Man. We have a long ways to go. So let's start with the basic proportions of getting our head to be the right size, and we'll use Control Mask Lasso, draw around the neck, and blur our mask by Control left click tapping, and then switch our pivot from our transform gizmo right here to the base of the neck and just make his head bigger. So we'll continue to switch back and forth between, that's probably good, we'll come down just a little right there. And then make sure symmetry's on, and then just kind of smooth everything back, push our interesting face details back. Actually, I need to inflate these eyes to fill that hole. Just fill all that. Yeah, this is fun. It's fun, isn't it? And then we'll just H-polish in the details, get rid of his face, and start to adjust our proportions just a little. Damien Standard to get the crease on the bottom of the neck, smoothing in the back of the head there. So it's looking more like Spidey already, I feel like. Let's make him not look so jacked now. Smoothing and snake hooking the detailing in just a little bit, just making him more slender. And again, we can reintroduce any detail we need later on, but for now, let's just kind of get the rough, very rough proportions in place. A little longer legs. Venom has really stubby legs, so we'll add that contrast. Spidey will have long legs, and it'll be nice and skinny. Let's leave that bend in the knee because we're going to be bending his knees anyway quite a bit. So and I want to scale the size of his hands out. So I'm going to use the mask lasso and just mask just his hands, blur my selection there, and then invert my selection, Control left click tapping, and then reset my pivot to the base of the wrist by unlocking my little gear thing and scaling this direction. And it likes to scale from center, so you're going to have to move it back into place after scaling. It doesn't actually scale from where the yellow pivot is, and I think it's just a little bit of a bug when you're working with symmetry in ZBrush. Just make sure you navigate around so you fix wonkiness like that. Okay. And his back is still pretty ripped, so let's continue to give him a little bit longer of a neck, less traps, less tone back here. Okay. And then using the Damien Standard, kind of bring back some of our detail that we've lost. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe we could start posing him sooner than later. And then so we don't run into the same issue we had with Venom where we're doing our extracts after the fact, so we'll get this character like into pose real soon, and then do our extracts. So we learn from our mistakes. Longer neck, long slender neck. Adam's apple there. And then refine the jawline, nice and pointy. Maybe in standard, carve that guy in. Maybe we should have a little bit of a bump where his ears were, you know, 'cause he's got ears. And then we'll carve down to the bottom of the neck and kind of push this all in just a little bit. Okay, Spidey's getting real close already. Let's go ahead and save. So I'm working as a separate subtool for this particular, and this is going to be a little bit problematic. So here's what we're going to do. Let's just bring everything over to our other subtool. So if we come over here, we have our Venom subtool loaded, and then we're just going to come down here to append. And from here, you can actually grab your other subtool. So you can grab this Nixie human male. And let's rename him to Spidey. And then we'll just do our work in this subtool all combined together. So I'm just going to come back here and delete all just to remove the confusion. And then actually going to scale this guy to the proper scale too. So with symmetry on, making sure that my pivot is recentered. And then centered there, I'm just going to scale down. And if you turn on this little transparency button, you can see through. So we want Spider-Man to be quite a bit smaller. Maybe not that much smaller. Something like that. Okay, yeah, I think that's probably good. And then let's do this. Let's go ahead and turn off our symmetry, turn back on our rotate, and recenter our pivot. And then holding shift, you can snap to like the different angles. You see that we've now gone negative 180 because he's going to be facing the other direction. And let's just start getting this guy into pose like right away. So we're going to move him up, turn back our symmetry on by hitting X, moving him back up, and let's kind of get him into place. So I'm going to start by just kind of making his torso match the angle that, that we have in our concept. And then, if you remember Shift F, we still have all these fun poly groups, so we still have all of our control over those. But let's drag a lasso mask around his bottom part of his torso. And then invert that selection and replace our pivot here. You're right in the hip area, and then we'll like start to pose his legs, get his legs into place. And this is going to be, you're going to do a lot of polishing, cleaning up here just to fix the detailing. He's going to be definitely more hunched over as he's sitting. So, okay. Again, make sure your symmetry is on. Just blurring my mask, switching back to the legacy transpose tool, and just arching his back. Switching to the move. And then we got these weird deals going on here, but that's fine. So we can just fix it. And let's Alt-Tab over to our concept and make sure, it looks like my head's definitely bigger. There's definitely a big, like a kind of C shape in his back. So he's very hunchy. Let's continue to try to achieve that. I'm going to mask around his head and get his head posed. My selection here. And then I'm going to scale this, switch back to my other subtool, make his head bigger. Yeah. Okay. So again, make sure you have your symmetry on. Shift F, get everything out of the way. Okay. So now let's bring his arms down. So Control, again, so just to recap, Control, drag a lasso right here, Control, left shift, Control, left click, tap on his arm to blur your mask, invert your selection by Control, left click, tapping, and then switching over to the Legacy Transpose brush, moving this into place by selecting that outer orange circle, and then just rotating things into place. So you can also drag the inner white circle right here, and it'll rotate on a different axis, and you can just continue to try and get those things into place. So I'm using these two inner white circles to really get things into place where they need to be. And using the move brush here to kind of hunch those shoulders just a little bit forward. This posture is not the best, but it's fine. And let's go ahead and bend these elbows too while we're at it. Invert our selection, drag out our joints, and just kind of get those roughly into place. We're going to maintain our symmetry for now. Let's rotate our forearms, blur that mask a good amount right here, add our radius in there, and then grab the inner white circle and then rotate in so he's kind of facing his hands towards his face. And his arms are too small. So let's scale those guys up, and I think what I'm going to do is, one fancy way to do that is with your legacy tool as the active tool. If I hold control and left click down an edge, it'll start to kind of follow the topology along. And it might take a few attempts. You know, sometimes it'll go all the way down his leg like you see here, but if you keep following along down further, it'll kind of isolate his arm topology. It's not, you might have to do a little cleanup with the lasso, but it gets you most of the way there. When you're trying to get a good mask in. And now I've got scale on. I'm grabbing the outer the inner red circle and the out orange circle here. It's hard to describe this stuff. And then I'm just going to continue to use the snake hook brush to kind of get things into place. His arms need to be skinnier too, but we'll worry about that here in a second. For now, we're just still continuing to do large form adjustments. Okay. And then I'm going to unmask, and now let's get his legs into place. So I'm using the mask lasso here, and then blurring my mask a good amount, and getting our little transpose tool into place. Looks like our arms have probably come down just a little bit too much, but it's fine, we'll figure it out. And now I'm going to mask around the knee, get the knee into place. And so let's get these legs kind of rotate. Oops. So again, left clicking and dragging along the topology will allow you to mask along the topology wherever that's headed. So there we go. Okay, so actually leave that mask and then clean up our knees while the other parts are masked up. You can say, oh, it's going to be hard to get access to those arms. It won't, because we can just use that fancy technique to getting closer. And I'm actually going to rotate these guys a little bit. There we go. Like so. And then I'm going to save because I haven't saved in a little while. I'm going to actually rotate his torso upward. Just control left click drag up along his stomach area, and then I'm going to rotate up just a little bit so we're not intersecting so much. And I understand that it's looking really squirrely right now, but we can always polish and refine. It doesn't need a belly. This is a pretty drastic transpose to go for. This pose is quite a bit different from like a traditional T pose, so it's going to take a lot of cleanup, so it's something you just have to get used to. Let's get these calves kind of popped out a little bit more. He's got some mass there. Really skinny ankles. And triceps can come back just a little. And let's get those arms back into place. Okay, so we're going to control left click drag our transpose brush along those arms, clean up with the lasso brush, and then with that in place, we're going to rotate these guys back up. And then let's do the same thing with our forearms and kind of like try to mask along that topology and then rotate those guys out into place too. So it's not intersecting his head there. So, okay. And then grabbing our move topological brush, I'm going to grab his elbows and just kind of finagle those into place. Finagle is a word that I use commonly. It's like something that my mom would say, so I have an affinity for it. I don't know if that's said all over the place, but armpits are looking a little dicey, so let's clean these guys up. Good, so just doing a smooth, and then using mostly my move topological brush to Damien Standard to add the crease here we're not seeing, and fixing these legs out just a little. So I kind of want these to be skinnier here towards the contact points with the pelvis, and then kind of inflate out as they reach the knee area. And then we're going to inflate out our calf area too. Smooth this crotch area out just a little. And then I think if we look at our concept, going to hit save here and mouse over the concept. So he's not symmetrical, right? He's got one hand that's resting on his chin, and then another hand that is holding his phone. The problem with that is we're gonna maintain symmetry as long as we possibly can while we do all the webbing and the detailing on this guy's body, because that's going to be the easiest approach, I think. So we'll keep his hands in kind of an awkward angle, just facing as they are for now until we're done with the webs, and then we'll get them posed. So I think his forearms need to be a little bit longer. And maybe what we'll do is we'll do a pose here for just the forearm area. And I've done this for a lot of years, so I mean, I apologize if I'm moving quickly, but I've just done this for so long that I'm familiar with that, you know, how things are going to flow with my masking. So again, just control left clicking and dragging. It takes a bit of practice to get used to, but Zbrush is pretty awesome so long as your geometry, your topology is fairly clean. And you can even do it with Dynamesh sometimes as well. It kind of works. It's a little more sluggish and difficult, but it does work sometimes with Dynamesh. I want his fingers to be a little more long and gangly, so I'm going to work on that with my move topological, just pulling those fingers out. And I'm not worried about how skinny they are at the moment. I just want to get those into place and at roughly the right length. So he's got alien fingers, and let's go and do an inflate to kind of get those into a better spot. I'm going to inflate more towards the edge than towards the knuckle because I think that adds some visual appeal. His thumb is just a little bit too long, so we'll use a snake hook and come back down. And I think those hands are looking pretty good. So still looking like an alien, but I'm fine with it because Spider-Man does look like an alien. So a little bit of definition here for the bicep. Maybe I'll undo that because I want him to be kind of like just an average dude, you know. He doesn't need to be super ripped, but he's Spider-Man. He's still super strong. Okay, so snake hook. All right, and let's continue to rotate his forearms down just out of the way of his face just a little bit so we can see what we're working with. Okay, and then smoothing. Okay, so he's got toeses, which Spider-Man doesn't have, so we should fix this. Let's get the feet in place first of all. I think that's going to be helpful. And then maybe his toes can kind of come up off the, turn off transparency. Just get real skinny with his ankles. I kind of like that look. we're in a good spot to possibly switch over to our Dynamesh phase with this guy. Let's use the inflate one more time and just kind of deflate his, holding Alt, deflate his his wrist diameter, and just overall make this guy a little bit more skinny. His neck area. Okay. So I think he's good for now. Okay. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of an arch to the back. A little more, a little more. Okay. Hit save. We got Spidey here. Pretty happy with the pose generally. But let's focus on getting his feet fixed now, his toes. And we'll jump into Dynamesh and then into a remesh, Z-remesh for that. I think it's a valuable thing for you to learn. So first thing first, let's duplicate our subtool. So we're always going to have this as a backup. We'll come down here, hitting Shift F. We will go to Geometry and go to Dynamesh, and let's switch up to 1200 or so and run a Dynamesh and see what happens there. Okay, so now we've got things connected. I think we're okay with that for now. Not super worried about that for now. But we got polygons, equidistant from each other. So now we have all the resolution we need to continue sculpting and doing what we need to do. And then also, most importantly, we got to inflate his toes together so that they are not toes anymore, but an actual combined mesh. So let's go ahead and make these feet nice and long and big, and bring these to kind of a little bit of a square tip on the end. And then Shift F to see how things are looking. Obviously we don't like this contact point, so you can use Damien's standard and come in here and kind of just reconnect this or make it look like it's not connected if you'd like. And again, just remember this is different from a production workflow. We're in a toy workflow now, so we can be messy and you can have things connected together right here. That's fine. And we always have our backup subtool just in case we want to go back to our clean topology. And let's say we want to make this guy a clean topology that has that gives us that ability. Actually, I don't know if we need to. Well, we will when we pose his hands. So we're going to have to switch back to a clean topo here. I'm just smoothing out all the faceting that we've seen, all the polygons that we're seeing right now. Just kind of recarving in some of the detail we've lost when we did our shrink wrap of our Dynamesh, and then just kind of adding in some details again. Okay, so I think I'm good for now. Just gonna hit save. Okay, turn off solo mode, and let's get rid of, we'll just hide our other Spidey for now. And then now the feet are looking like his feet, and what we want to do is just continue to refine and really get everything into place, anatomy wise, and then we'll do our extracts for our detailing for his actual, for his boots and for his spider symbol and for his webbing, his eyes. So let's just get everything real close to where we want it, so we don't make the same mistake we made on our Venom character where we had to go back and readjust all the white detailing. So add a little bit of a tricep here. Bring back some of the bicep. lats, and then we get the line from the spine that comes back down the back here. And then don't want them to get super ripped looking, but we gotta add some detail, I guess, there. I'm more concerned with like some of the wrinkle detailing from like the cloth, maybe coming along the back of his neck here where he's wrinkling that cloth, maybe along the base of his head. So using the clay buildup is really good for this kind of stuff. The Damien Standard. So you'll notice that, I mean, I really only use 3 or 4 brushes to really kind of get what I need. Get the Adam's apple out here with the snake hook. And there's a whole internet worth of custom brushes you can find that fit your liking. Fit your liking, no one says that. Fit your needs. So just refining the jawline using the Damien Standard and kind of holding Alt to come out with it, and then going in with it on the inside edge here. Coming back and getting these tendons in. I think I want to get the collarbone coming in a little bit right here. Some weird indent, clean that up. So. One thing you can do is just, Control Shift left click drag a lasso to get everything else out of the way. Turn on solo mode to get Venom out of the way, and then you can come in here and just continue to rework the anatomy a bit. I forgot to do my little V's. There we go. And I'm not going to spend too much time doing this. I kind of like the idea of just keeping him simpler and just kind of stringy and not super ripped. But it's always good practice, to get in here and just practice your anatomy work and all that stuff. But I'm more concerned with what we're going to do next, which is the webbing and the detailing on his actual, in his eyes and all that stuff. We're going to do that differently, a little bit differently than Venom, because he didn't have webs on his suit. So okay, let's get some wrinkle detail here, kind of coming out of his suit. I'm gonna crank my intensity back to 30 something. I'm just gonna add these V shapes. Maybe there's a little tiny bit of bagginess to his suit, Clay build up to add some wrinkle detail right here. Smoothing things back a little bit. Refining his bicep shape. Maybe it's come in, turn down the intensity. Kind of on the wrong side of his arm right now, so let's continue to fix that guy. I'm using the H polish too to kind of push back some of the details, kind of introduce those planes that you see when you're sculpting. So. Okay, I'm just going to smooth back some of the detail. I don't want his traps to be popping out that much, and his shoulders to be. Okay, turn off solo mode and see how things are looking overall. I'm going to move him, I think, back up and on top of his head just a little bit more. And move his feet into place so he's using his Venom's traps as a place to stand on. And let's add a little ankles in here. I like to use the snake hook brush to do that. He's got some calves, so that's fine. Let's give him a little bit of calves here. And then his pecs are coming too high up. His neck. It's tricky to kind of get anatomy when he's in pose like this. Get it working right, but we'll do what we can. Some wrinkles in his stomach right here as he's flexed and bent over. And then remember the V, let's come over here, kind of V-shaped. I'm going to get the neck detailing. And this V little section here that kind of pops in and then goes in. Trying to get that guy. Okay, that's looking better. Just using Damien's standard, kind of scaled up a good amount. And then let's add that little V shape too right here with his. And then just remember to smooth that back. Okay, Control Shift left click and bring everything back. And I think in order to do the webbing, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. I think what we're going to want to do is we'll stay in Dynamesh mode, and it's going to be tricky to, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run a Z-remesh, okay, and I'll show you that because I think it's valuable to know how to do a Z-remesh, but also it's going to be easier to pose our hands into place once we're ready for that stage. So I'm going to come back here. I'm actually going to delete my old Spidey because I don't need that one anymore. Just delete that guy. And now this is our main, but it's in Dynamesh, so it's hard to pose because the polygons are so dense. So what we're going to do is duplicate this guy and then run a Z-remesh. Come here to Geometry, come down here to Z-remesh, and then we'll change it to, we'll leave it at 5 for now. Just make sure you save because this function has a tendency to take a little bit while sometimes and can crash. So run a Z-remesh and see what happens there. And what this is trying to do is it's trying to give you a more riggable animation-friendly topology, which is what we're going to need just to get the fingers in place. It's going to be an easier process there. Okay, so now we've got our Z-remesh to mesh. If I turn on solo mode and hit Shift F, you'll see we've got a nice clean topology moving along. So, I mean, sometimes it has a hard time, but overall I think this is good enough for what we're doing. So Shift F to turn that off. I'm going to hit Control D to run a subdiv on this. And then I'm going to turn everything else off by holding Shift and then left clicking that eye, and then letting go of Shift and turning just these two on and turn off solo mode. So now our only two visible subtools are our two Spideys, okay? And I want to project back the detail from this guy to this guy. And projection is a very common workflow inside ZBrush. It's something you're going to do very super often, and it's really, really powerful, so get used to it. With both of these tools visible, and this our active subtool, because this dark gray bar means this is our active subtool. This is our clean topology. We'll come down to project, and then just turn off color. We don't need color. We're just going to hit project. And you'll notice that it kind of does a shrink wrap to whatever's visible, okay? So I'm going to hit Control D one more time, actually another time, and then do another project. And it brings back the detailing from our Dynamesh Spidey, which is what we want, and projects it down to our clean topology, which is exactly where we want to be. So now for now we have all the detail we need in our other one, so we're going to just delete the Dynamesh version and just roll with our Z-remesh Spider-Man for now. I'm going to hit save. Okay, and so what I want to figure out now is I think I'm going to continue just to refine proportions just a little bit because we want to get those in a great spot before we start doing our webbing and our detailing on the actual suit itself. So I'm going to pop out the knuckles a little. I'm just going to use the clay buildup actually. Make sure that symmetry is on. And also make sure that your symmetry is on when you do your Z-remesh too. That's crucial. because then your topology will be symmetrical on both sides when we do our posing. So very important. Just add some knuckle joints, nubs in there, and then smooth them back. Okay, and we're going to do the thumb here, and then maybe some little bit of these tendons that come along from the knuckles. Just subtly smoothing things back. I'm going to adjust the finger shapes just a little bit, like bring these guys out, because I like these like wider, kind of square tip fingers on my characters. I don't know why, I just do. And then let's refine the contact point at the wrist here. And then I don't think we need to add that little nub as much. I'm not going to get as crazy with the anatomy on him because we have a lot of work to do on the webbing itself. So I think this is good for the video for now for the Blockout of Spider-Man. And then we'll wrap this one up. Continue continue to detail too. Sometimes it's more pleasing to sculpt on clean topology as opposed to Dynamesh topology. It feels better, and sometimes you can get better results. But his neck is tapered too far out, so let's bring that guy in. Make it look kind of more like a tube. Chin kind of jut out just a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so I think I turn on solo, turn off solo, and then Shift F to click all the eyes on. Got Spidey pretty much into place here. I'm going to hit save now. Let's turn on our on perspective. And then version up my file. I'm a victim to just that save as instead of using save next because it just breaks so often. But okay, in the next video, we're going to go over the wardrobe, the actual wardrobe for Spider-Man, so where his red and his blues separate, and add those lines. And then from there we can start to introduce our webbing, which is going to be tricky and time consuming, but I think in the end it's going to pay off. So again, if you like what you see, get involved in the comments and let me know if you're happy with things, or if I can change some things, or if I can slow down. I know people have mentioned they want me to put the hotkeys on the video, but I'll probably focus on that in the next series, trying to figure out that tech, how that works. Kind of looks like he has a diaper, so I'm trying to clean the diaper up a little. Spidey doesn't wear a diaper. Okay. His armpits down just a little, and carve in the shoulder muscle just a smidge. All right, cool. So hitting save and moving on to the next video. So the next video we'll get the wardrobe going, and we'll see you then.